welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Merg Mayhem, where one take can cause mayhem. Sorry for the absence. I was recovering from surgery, and because of that, I haven't been able to feel good enough to make an episode and then come back. And I was just making sure I was catching up on all these baseball games, basketball games, anything I could really, what I could do as far as getting information and trying to figure out how I can process it and give my opinions on what happened, what I saw, and just my opinion on my take on everything. So over these last 2-3 weeks now, I'm just going to go basically through a lot of the NBA stuff and some of the things I saw in baseball. And let's just get right into it. A lot of what happened over the playoffs was a lot of the Eastern Conference semis and Eastern Conference semis as well. So I'm not going to go into all the games that I saw and what I missed. I'm just going to go through the overall consensus of these games. And we're just going to start off with the easiest one. Basically, it's the Boston Celtics Cavaliers series. This series, basically, to be honest, I was expecting the Boston Celtics to just trample them. So I'm not surprised by the end result. But at the same time, in Game 2, the Cavaliers did show a flaw in their defense. And, Donovan Mitchell was injured. I think got injured. I think it was in game 3 potentially. End of Game 2, maybe Game 3. I can't really remember. But as you see in the box score, Evan Mobley showed out with 33. Garland was not great at all. He ended up getting hobbled in the second half, and Max Strus. Other than his threes, he tried to do everything he could, and he ended up getting in 12. Marcus Morris was basically the question mark for me of why JB Bickerstaff didn't play him more. He's got the most playoff experience out of all of these guys. I know he's not really the best defender. He's not like. He's kind of, like I said, he's going to be hard to find a place on the floor for him to guard, but he's a certified bucket getter. He gave him 25. To be honest, I feel like they should have started him. Dean Wade, I know he can shoot, but you look at the plus minus here. He was 14 points better. Plus, he's a better scorer, shot better, and I just don't understand why he didn't get more playing time in the series. I'm expecting him, if he is out of contract this year, to opt out and go to a playoff contending team. And then Tristan Thompson, he didn't play a lot in the series, which I didn't understand either. Porzingis didn't even play in this series. And if you look at the rebounds, 43 rebounds to their 28. Tristan Thompson has always been a great rebounder, offensive rebounder, even with when he was playing with LeBron, K-Love, and Kyrie. So I didn't understand why he didn't play any minutes in the series. But yeah, that's just poor. I feel like, in my opinion, that was poor decision making from JB Bickerstaff to not use a lot of his bench. I know Missoula didn't use any of his bench either, but Cornette's a good backup center. Pritchard can play make. He can also get buckets as well. It's just every person on their bench is better than everybody over there for the most part, except for maybe some experience. But Caris LeVert didn't play in this game either. So this was just a game to where you knew it wasn't going to go well. Even though at halftime it was pretty even, it was pretty close, and then that fourth quarter, you knew it just wasn't gonna work out. But yeah, and then they played Indiana. I'll get into that game once I get through these semis. But we're gonna go to the probably one of the better games or better series in these playoffs. Was the Dallas Mavericks OKC. This series, it was hard at times to watch, even though Game 6. Shea did foul PJ Washington, which Yeah, he did get ball, but I feel like when he did come down, he did get the elbow a little bit. But you know, it was a tough loss for him. It was one of those games where, you know, both teams were getting everything they wanted on offense. Chet Holmgren did get 5 fouls, so he was in foul trouble, and so was PJ Washington. But PJ Washington did shoot the timely threes and get timely buckets for him in the fourth quarter. It just shows that Luka and Kyrie can work together, and you know it comes with Derrick Jones Jr. guarding Shea and with Jones Jr. hitting those 3-pointers that they're daring him to shoot, making him on an efficient clip. And when he starts getting rolling, I can't remember how many points he had, but he had 22. Once you can make those threes, they're going to come out on you, and then the whole floor is going to open up for Luka and Kyrie to operate and to throw those lobs to Gafford and PJ Washington in the corner. And, you know, PJ Washington with those 5 fouls, you know, with him having that foul trouble, wasn't able to produce a lot offensively, but he did play defense very, very well. And off the bench, Derek Lively did his thing. He and Gafford both doing that switch out that Jason Kidd has, in my opinion, has perfected, trying to figure out when to bring Lively in and when to have him sit with Gafford out. It just came down to the fourth quarter, and Dallas, you see right here that they scored more. But this was OKC's game all the way through halftime, and then they just weren't able to make a shot in the second half, and you know it happens. And you look at the just based off of percentages and just the team stats, Dallas shot better, and it was pretty evenly called. Free throws, 7 points does kind of 7 free throw attempts does kind of make it a little interesting, but like Shea, you shouldn't have fouled him, and they were a young team. I wasn't really expecting them to go this far into the playoffs, but you have the runner-up MVP, which he is. He's averaged about 33, 50% from the field and 50% from three. So, and yeah, they almost, they blew a 17-point lead at one point in the game, and it was about 15, I think it was 17 at halftime, and it's just one of those things where they did bring, I think Isaiah Joe did start. So, and having that adjustment from, I think it was game 5 is when it first started, and having that come in to play in game 6, and in the first half it worked. And then the second half, it didn't work as much. And, it's just one of those things where they're going to have to figure out how to do that with Josh Giddey, with him not being able to hit those threes. So Josh Giddey going to the offseason is probably going to work on his 3-point shooting, because both teams did exploit that with Derrick Jones Jr. and with Josh Giddey, except for Derrick Jones Jr. being able to make most of his. I know one game he went 1 for 10 from the field, and he went 1 for 9 from 3. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, Lou Dort was also in foul trouble with Luka picking up some stupid fouls early in the first quarter and early in the second. So he wasn't really able to guard Luka in the clutch moments. But it was overall fantastic game. It was down the wire, and one of those series to where Shea's gonna come in the off season, come back next season like Ant-Man did last year, and just go out for blood. Even though I feel like he deserved the MVP this year for bringing the 10th seed all the way to number 1. And I feel like all these guys are going to step up next year. This team is young. They're going to be here for a while. And, this team has the potential to be that OKC team back in I think it was 2012. I feel like Holmgren's going to come back with a vengeance, more muscle. He did put up 21 points. He did put up 21. Jalen Williams put up 22. It was just those costly turnovers in the second half and those dumb fouls that was able to have OKC get out of the win column in that game. But yeah, and then there's another game 7 that happened. There are 2 game 7s actually in both semis. We're gonna go to the Denver and Minnesota game. As you see here, on the right part of the screen, you see. Sorry if I can just speak. You see that Denver had a 20-point lead and Minnesota come back. This was Denver's game. They held Minnesota to under 20 points in both quarters in the first half, which is still pretty shocking. I think Anthony Edwards had like maybe 4 to 9 points or so. Jamal Murray had like 24 at halftime. Jokic was doing well, and then the Minnesota Timberwolves defense showed up and they scored 30 in the third, as you see, and then they just their defense just ramped up in the fourth. I will say that even though Anthony Edwards only had 16 points, Karl-Anthony Towns, I've always felt this. He's a top 5 big, arguably top 3 for me, just because of what he can do all around. I do think Jokic and Embiid are 1 and 2, but other than that, I don't see another center that's better than Karl-Anthony Towns. I know he plays the 4, but he's a 5. I will say that he played exceptionally well. 8 of 14. He didn't shoot the 3 ball as well. I do know that that left knee was bothering him, but. I mean, he was 23 and 10, 23 and 12. If I can just read a screen here, but he had a block and 2 steals, and he did come out the game with 5 fouls. Going late in the fourth, and Rudy Gobert had that turnaround jump shot, which is still just mind-boggling that happened. But yeah, he had a decent game. He didn't get dominated by Rudy Gobert as much. By Jokic, like in game 5. But yeah, I mean the stats for Denver. Jokic 34-19. I've always said this. Just to friends, and I've always thought this too, but I don't have another camera and I don't have one of those drawings or whatever, but if you look at how Aaron Gordon would get most of his buckets, right? He did have 5 fouls too, but he didn't show up. He was kind of MIA. KCP was kind of MIA, and so was Porter. So when you have these 2 guys scoring 70 and everybody else under 10 points, that's the strategy that every team should try to have. Because if Jokic has the easy assist to Aaron Gordon, and Aaron Gordon at times in this series would score 20, 22, 25 points, it's because, they would play one-on-one with Jokic. They would double team Jokic at some time in the game, and then Aaron Gordon would just be at that dunker spot, and that's just where you have to limit those easy assists, because if somebody comes up on that high-low, obviously he's going to be wide open, and then if you try to double team in that 2-man game, Jamal Murray at the top, it's just going to. And then he's able to hit Jokic, and Jokic finds Porter in the corner on the wing for 3. That's just wide open contested. And, Porter's 6'11", 6'10", so he's not going to have a lot of contests in the face because he's just taller than everybody. So, they made it hard for him to get shots off, and they made it hard for KCP to hit wide open 3s. And I didn't like some of the substitutions for Mike Malone. Peyton Watson has been one of the better bench scorers on this team. And he didn't play, and I don't understand why he didn't play. I know that Christian Brown might be a better defender than him on the perimeter, but I mean, they exploited him as well with the 3-point shot, and there would be times where sometimes they would close out he's going to shoot it, and he would just drive by. He's not going to shoot the ball, and that's just something he's got to work on. But if you're looking at everybody on the team that you can just leave open, make him shoot the three. I mean, he only attempted one, but guys where you have to close out on Michael Porter Jr., KCP, because that's their role on the team. But this was a coming out party for the Timberwolves. The 3-point shot for Denver was not going in at all that game. I think Jokic was 1 for 17 or it was crazy. Sorry, 2 for 10. At one point, when he made his first three, he was 1 for 7. But yeah, they made it hard. They made it hard for all of them. I mean, this Minnesota Timberwolves defense is like a March Madness type of defense, to where they'll be guarding you from half court, make trap and just being scrappy. And Jalen McDaniels, 23 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block. I mean, this dude has been one of the most underrated players in the league. Depending on how he defends Luka, which I feel like that's who he's going to be assigned most of the time, and then he might switch off to Kyrie Irving. But depending on how he defends Luka, Luka's going to get to his spots. They actually play tonight at 7:30. As of right now, it's 6:55 my time. So I'm in the Central Time Zone. So by the time I'm done finished recording this video or in this episode, it's probably going to be just about that time when they're playing. I have it recorded, so hopefully I'll be able to watch that tonight and make another episode soon on that game. But if depending on how Jalen McDaniels defends Luka, I will probably give him that elite defender status, because he's about 6'11" now, with shoes on. I don't understand why they have where you stand without shoes, because who really cares? This season he'd averaged 10.5 points, 3 rebounds and 1 assist. But as far as he almost averaged a steal and a block per game, and he's probably 6'11" with shoes on. The wingspan is crazy. Plus, my bad, I think I keep saying Jalen. It's Jaden McDaniels. He had a growth spurt. I think he was 6'7" or so, and 6'8", and he grew a little bit just this year as well. So he might be done growing now. He's 23 years old, so he's probably done now. But I mean, he's been playing out of his mind, and so is Mike Conley. Went 3 for 10, but he made a acrobatic 3-point bucket, and he's the leader of this. He's one of the leaders of this team, along with Edwards. And Mike Conley's looking for a ring, and this could be his one and only shot to get it. I know they might have a chance next year, but Denver might get a different piece over the offseason. So we'll see what happens with Denver and see what they do in the offseason. But this might be the one chance that Mike Conley has a chance to get a ring, because I think Marc Gasol won one with the Raptors, and this might be the only time where where another Grizzly has a chance to get one. So we'll see what happens in tonight's game with him. The last game for the semis is the New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers. Now, I will say that this game, when you look at it, they were blown out by 21. It was pretty, in the first half, it was really, really close. And then in the fourth quarter, it just was, second half, it was hard to watch. But I just want to just say congratulations to the New York Knicks, because this season they exceeded expectations, with Julius Randle getting injured going in, I think toward the later half of the season. Mitchell Robinson getting hurt and earlier in this series, OG getting hurt early in this series, Bojan Bogdanovic getting hurt in the first round, and and Josh Hart getting an abdominal strain. New York Knicks just played fantastic with all these injuries, despite the injuries, and Indiana just. Halliburton played fantastic. Siakam played well. Miles Turner. I mean, they shot like 60% in the first half, and then for the game they shot 67, which is a playoff record. I mean, no team has done this. And one of the things with this series is. With New York not having a lot of bigs, they have to out-rebound the Knicks, in this game they did. And, Indiana, there was one stat, I can't remember, but there was one stat where I think if the Indiana Pacers get like over 30 assists, they're most likely going to win the game, and they got 33. And with Jalen Brunson being injured, he did fracture his hand in the third quarter, so he was able to. He ended up leaving and not coming back. OG Anunoby only played 5 minutes, and then he cut it quits. And it just wasn't gonna. It just wasn't gonna work out in the Knicks' favor. But yeah, I just want to congratulate the New York Knicks on this unfortunate loss, because this team next year, the New York Knicks, are going to be something to behold, because everybody's going to come back. I do think that the New York Knicks need to figure out who's going. If they needed, I think they do need a big three. I do think that Julius Randle is going to have to take that Chris Bosh level role, because I think they need. I think they just need one. They have OG Anunoby, but I think they just need another guard. I feel like Josh Hart coming off the bench is going to be that guy for him, be that sixth man. And I just think they just need I don't know if they need a Donovan Mitchell. I don't know if they might need a DeMar DeRozan or somebody, but they need to have another guard that can not only shot create for himself, but just to be that scorer. And, OG, I feel like he could play the 4. And if you want to play small, have Randall be the 5, even though I don't think that they're going to do that. But if they need to play small, have Randall be the 5, OG be the 4. And who knows, maybe they get a wing to be that guard, but this New York Knicks team has a chance to go to the Eastern Conference Finals next year. But it all depends. And Indiana played the Celtics last night, so we're going to get into that game right now, since we already have Indiana. This game, going into this game, I feel like for both teams, right? For both teams, they're going to score. Boston, though, having that elite defense from top to bottom, Porzingis, that elite shot blocker, is going to be out. Supposed to be out the first 2. Now, I don't know. He might come in game 3, but I feel like they should just let him come back for the finals. If they don't have to play him, I don't think they would or should play him, just in case he might re-aggravate that injury. But this game for Indiana, obviously, while I was talking about how they shot 67%, that's probably not going to happen for a good bit. But they have to make the wide open threes. They have to be basically whatever they did in the season. They have to be perfect. Obviously, both teams don't make turnovers that don't make dumb turnovers, don't make dumb fouls, obviously. But, Halliburton has to be aggressive, has to score at least 20 or over. And with Siakam, he's got to be 20 or over. And basically, the bench guys, whatever they averaged during the Knicks series, they have to do what they can to improve at least maybe 2 to 3 points more as far as averaging. But and then with Boston, is the narrative Jason Tatum, can he step up in the playoffs? Can he lead his team to the finals? Can he be that guy? Obviously, I feel like he is that guy. It's just it's just what a lot of people in the media are saying, and I just think that with Jaylen Brown, can he be that second guy that scores just as much? And I do think Jaylen Brown's a better defender. Can he defend without making any dumb fouls? And can he not turn the ball over going left? That's the thing with him. And with Al Horford being that veteran, can he still produce at a good level and basically be that game 5 Al Horford against Cleveland? But, we're going to go in the stats here. I'm going to get to this video in a second, but Obi Toppin had a phenomenal game. Obi Toppin, and during the Knicks series, wasn't being aggressive at times. In game 7, he only had 3 points, but I feel like if he's more aggressive with his jump shot, he did make a lot of buckets off the dribble in the mid range, and I feel like he needs to be more aggressive on his shot attempts. With 15, and then TJ McConnell just carried over his performance from the Knicks into this game. And Shepherd didn't didn't shoot the threes well. And everybody played good, except for in the fourth quarter. The last maybe 30 seconds, I'll say. This was Indiana's basketball game. I was so frustrated. And we're just gonna get into this play right here. So it's 10 seconds left. That was we see already. I have the volume muted, so we see, they're counting. As you see, they have two. Both teams have a timeout. They both have a timeout. Neesmith is running away here. Halliburton is going away, and you see. Oh, sorry, I keep clicking my mouse on accident. He tries to catch the ball, goes out of bounds. Why not call a timeout here to at least make another inbounds play? Because JJ Redick was saying that you have three guys going away. So as you saw Neesmith going diagonal, Halliburton going straight back, and then Siakam just going they were going away from Nembhard trying to pass the ball. So I feel like Carlisle should have called a timeout there, or Nembhard should have called a timeout there, because you still have one. Now this play right here, from the Boston Celtics, great screen. I feel like I didn't know if McConnell didn't think to switch it or not. Either way, it was a great inbounds play, because both of them were doing the exact same thing on both sides. Jaylen Brown gets open, and they should have fouled before he shot this ball, because New York Knicks did it in Philly, where they fouled Tyrese Maxey to go to the line. And I just don't understand why they didn't foul, because both teams were going to be in the bonus. And if they make both free throws, they have to foul Indiana, because to keep the game rolling, just to see if they can make a 3-pointer or tie the game with the 2. And then I didn't like the closeout here. Got he got to him in time, and he was so close to where he could not contest. Now he's all up in him, which I like watching it fast motion like this. It's like, why didn't he get put a hand up? Hopefully there's gonna be a replay here in a second. A lot of people were there, Big Poppy, and then whoever that guy was. But like, I mean, you see that he's right there with no hand, and it was a tough shot. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, why would you get that close to him without contesting? If Jaylen Brown went, he only, that was his only made three of the game, which I understand. He hasn't shot a three, he hasn't made any threes all night, but he ended up getting 26 for the game. But I mean, I don't know why he didn't foul. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm still mesmerized. This was Indiana's game. I stayed up really, really late trying to watch and see if I could make any notes, but that was it. A lot of times people try to blame the last few seconds on a game. But I feel like in this case you can, I just think that after this, I don't know if this could potentially damage the confidence of Indiana going in Boston, but they have to win game 2 in order to keep this series close, because Boston can't have all the momentum going back to Indiana. I mean, both teams are going to score, but with Indiana, they made the timely stops going into the fourth quarter. It was frustrating to watch. Maybe Indiana can't turn the ball over 20 times. I mean, but both teams had played, had turnover issues, and but yeah, Halliburton ended up scoring 25 and 10 assists, but this is this series can't go like this for Indiana, because they have to basically play perfect, and they're fully healthy. So they have to win game 2, because if Porzingis comes back game 3, I mean, obviously there might not. I mean, who knows? Because it's going to be a different offense when he comes back. Because Porzingis can post up, he can shoot the 3, he can do everything, and it's just going to depend on when he comes back. And Neesmith didn't shoot the ball well from 3 for Indiana either, but he fouled out going in the fourth quarter toward the end of the fourth quarter. So yeah. Game 2, I believe, is Wednesday night on ESPN. So hopefully the Pacers will win that one and keep this series alive, and not go into desperation mode game 3 at Indiana. But tonight we're going to be watching the Mavs and Minnesota Timberwolves. Media's going crazy after what Anthony Edwards said about his next opposition, specifically Kyrie Irving, because he said he wanted him. That's going to be his matchup. I love that he said it, because we don't see opposing stars guarding one another, and him being one of the best defensive 2 guards in the league, calling out his opposition. It brings back the old 90s, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans, and the Tony Allens and Gary Payton, like those tough defenders that want to play defense and want to show you that you can't beat them. But this is at the same time, like, it's Kyrie Irving. I mean, Kyrie Irving has been there before. Klay Thompson, when he was fully healthy, guarded Kyrie. Trying to think of all the other good defenders in the league and in the East that guarded him. Jimmy Butler has guarded him. I mean, Kyrie Irving is. I mean, one is at times can be arguably the best point guard in the league. I know, like this year, trying to find his stats of what he did. Kyrie Irving averaged 26, 5 boards, 5 assists, about 50% from the field, basically in the top 50. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. Rookie of the Year, NBA champion with the Cavs. I mean, and then with Brooklyn, I know he had his offseason, off the court issues kind of damaged his reputation. But I mean, his career 24 per game score, 5 assists, about 6 assists, 4 rebounds, and he averages a steal. And in the OKC series, he proved that he can still guard. In my opinion, a lot of times people say Steph Curry is better than Kyrie. I have to say at what? Because Kyrie, in my opinion, has a better mid-range game than Curry does. He just does. You're not going to change my mind. As far as three-pointers go, as far as like shooting the three, obviously Steph Curry owns that. But as far as the mid-range game, as far as the post-ups, the isolation, the finishing, going to the basket, he is the best finisher at the point guard position. You cannot tell me different. It's a fact. You can just watch it. There are things that Kyrie Irving can do that Steph Curry cannot. And there are things that Steph Curry can do that Kyrie can't. Or can't do them as great as him. But, I mean, yeah. I mean, and Kyrie's a better defender than Steph, in my opinion. I know that both players at times won't guard the opposing position. Like in the like in the NBA Finals, they put Klay Thompson on Kyrie, and I think Steph guarded J.R. Smith. I think I can't really remember. Yeah, I think that's right. And then when Shumpert was in the game, Curry would be on Shumpert or the shooter. But yeah, I mean, Kyrie Irving shot 40% from three and almost 90% from the free throw line. And then obviously we know who Luka is. And I feel like that will be Jalen McDaniels' assignment, while Derek Jones is going to be on Anthony Edwards. It's going to be interesting with the other defensive matchups, right? Rudy Gobert is going to be with Gafford. You know, that defense, lob threats cancel each other out, right? The thing is, I want to know who's going to, like, I know PJ Washington is probably going to guard Karl Anthony Towns. The only thing I will say with that is the post up, right? Will they double Karl Anthony Towns and have Rudy Gobert be that potential lob threat for Cat to throw him the lob, which that could work? Is Karl Anthony Towns going to try to abuse the size of PJ Washington, since Karl Anthony Towns is about 7 feet, 240 pounds, and has a really good post game. And it just depends, because if you play zone, obviously the post ups are going to be very limited, and I think Luka's going to guard Kyrie. I think Luka's going to guard Mike Conley. But we'll see when the game starts on who's going to be guarding who. I don't think Anthony Edwards should guard Kyrie all the time. I feel like he should start him. He should start defending him at the start and then going into the fourth quarter. But this series, isn't going to be about the stars. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's going to be, for me, it's going to be about the bench, because Tim Hardaway Jr. is still trying to find his rhythm coming off the bench. He's averaging about 6 points, and there are times where he can get you 20, get you 15, and then there are times where he just can't shoot and can't make a shot, and it happens. And there are times where he only gets you 5. Max Kleber wasn't able to play in the Oklahoma City series. I don't know if he's going to. So just kidding. He will not be ready. He will not join. He will not be on the roster. Will not be playing. Sorry, he'll not be on the roster, but not be playing due to a right shoulder AC joint separation. So that blows. And Jaden Hardy's been stepping up at times. I think he got like 14 points in one of the games in OKC. Which was really good to see, because he's played 9 games, but he's a guy that's not supposed to score. He's a guy that's just going to be out there for Luka to kick out and see if he's open on the 3-point line. But he has a chance to show Jason Kidd that, hey, I can play. I can be a guy you can put in, and potentially get you a few baskets. But yeah, Josh Green's going to have to play well coming off the bench, playing defense and hitting those corner threes. But yeah, and then with Minnesota, Naz Reid is going to have to play like the 6th man that he was this year. Speaking of him, I'm trying to find his numbers. He averaged 13.5, 5 rebounds and an assist, and in the regular season, he shot 41%, which is absolutely incredible. I always knew he was going to be a good pro in this league coming out of LSU, but it's going to be about the bench for both teams. Naz Reid is going to have to still be that 10 to 15 point per scorer off the bench. Alexander Walker is going to have to continue to shoot well from 3. Kyle Anderson's going to have to be able to play make, but also play smart defense and play make at times when Mike Conley is not in there. And then, Monte Morris, just make sure you don't turn the ball over. And if you make a few baskets, great. But it's going to be based on the benches for me, and which team can shoot the 3 the best. And defensively, the defensive adjustments, like everybody's been saying, Minnesota's had the best defense all year as far as defensive rating. And you have the defensive player of the year on this team with a potential defensive player of the year in Anthony Edwards or Jaden McDaniels. In the playoffs, Jaden McDaniels is leading his team in blocks, which is insane, and Anthony Edwards is almost getting 2 steals a game, while Cat is averaging about 20, and Anthony Edwards this postseason is almost averaging 30, which is amazing for how he was able to come back after that loss with Denver and then end up beating them in 7. But yeah, it's going to be the battle of the benches, and can Kyrie be that 20 per game scorer like that? He's averaging 20 for the playoffs, but there are times in the OKC series where he only scored about maybe 11 points. And at times I feel like he was being a little bit too passive. He is averaging 21, but he needs to be that. If Luka gets 30, I need to score 25. If Luka's not having it, I got to take over the game. And at the same time, Kyrie is delegating to Derek Jones. He is delegating to PJ Washington, and just shows the unselfishness that from him. But Luka sometimes might have to be like, "Yo, Kyrie, like, come on, I need you to score. I can play make too, but I need you to make sure that you're rolling to where if you are scoring, if you do have 20, already in the second half, then you can start trying to delegate. But at times, I need you to score. But yeah, it's going to be interesting matchup to see. I'm excited for it, and it's at 7:23 now. But the last thing I'm going to get into, I'm just going to get into some light baseball stuff. I just want to just talk about Colt Keith for a second. Colt Keith has been having, sometimes he's having a rough adjustment to the big league level. He's actually feeling that now. I think about last week or like the last 2 weeks, I think 2 weeks ago he had like a 167 batting average. And, it's a different ball game. He played in AAA and AA, and now he's facing actual big league guys. So I think that they're figuring him out. And with hitting, it's the hardest thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do in sports other than golf is hitting this. At about now, everybody's throwing about 95 to 100, and sliders are sometimes 87 to 95, and splitters that are somewhere sometimes between 88 to 100 if you're Johan Duran. I mean, the pitching landscape now is just absolutely insane with turbo sinkers, and there's regular sinkers, and especially with Paul Skenes' sprinkler or whatever his hybrid pitch is called, but I just want to just say that he's hitting about 232. They played today. They played against the Royals. Tarek Skubal, he get 6 hits, 4 earned. Not too. I mean, he's the favorite to win the Cy Young. But his ERA is 2.25. Phenomenal. Cole Reagans was feeling it today. 12 Ks, 6 earned, or six innings and one hit. He's a guy that last year no one really knew about, and now this year, he's pitching phenomenal. 3 walks, not too bad. ERA 3.34. But back to Colt. He got a hit, did strike out, but he'd get on base. And one of the things with him that I'm just making sure of is if he is striking out, does he get walked? How many strikeouts do you get? How many? If you do go over, do you strike out or do you put the ball in play at least every time you're at bat? And with him and with some of these Detroit Tiger guys, pitching's so tough now to where you're going to strike out at least one time. But with this Detroit Tiger team, like I said in the earlier episodes, when it was just, I think the first 15 to 20 games, Detroit Tigers were the number 1 in the division. Now they're not. The Royals have been on a winning streak or playing really, really well to where their record now is 32-19. And I think they might be on top of the standings or just really close. Cleveland is 33-17, and the Royals are 32-19. And the Minnesota Twins and Tigers are Minnesota is 3 games ahead of the Tigers right now. But yeah, Colt did get a hit today. Did get a single, but prior to that game, like I said, he had a 167 batting average. Over the last 15 games, he is hit. If you go based off of the last 7, he's been hitting 522. If you go off the last 15, 386. And then obviously 30 you see here, but I think he's breaking out of that slump that he was in. He's hitting the ball hard. He's just hitting it right to people. And there are times where he does roll over on some pitches, but I mean, he's coming out. Hopefully he's coming out of this slump because, they need him. They need him to hit. He's in that contract extension to where he's financially secure. I mean, he's secure. It's just, obviously the Tigers want him to play better and he wants to play better. But I mean, he's hitting 232 when you look at everything on here. I mean, Mark Canha, 224, Riley Green, the superstars hitting 239, and the OPS numbers. I think Colt might have like a 500 OPS now. Almost 600, almost 560. But I mean, everybody's basically doing the exact same thing on this team. The Detroit Tigers are young. They have they have Javi Baez, which is still like they inked him for a max contract. But we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I just wanted to bring Colt up and bring one shout out to Paul Skenes. Paul Skenes, ever since his debut, he's yeah, I think he's sorry. His latest start was against the Cubs again at Wrigley, and one of the things with that debut in an opposing ballpark, he went 6 innings, pitched 100 pitches, and he had, I think, 12 Ks, something like that. I mean, the guy is a freak of nature and something that we will probably never see in quite some time. I'm trying to find that game, or at least if I can find it. I think it was this one, wasn't it? Yeah. This game was, if I can't, 5/17, about 5 days ago. So he's probably going to come back. If he doesn't pitch tonight, he'll probably pitch this weekend or around this weekend. We're just going to bring up the box score of this game. Andrew McCutchen getting a bomb. But yeah, this is really what I was looking at. Paul Skenes, when you look at his debut, he struck out 7 in 4 innings. The thing with him, can he sustain a long? Can he go to the 6th inning? Can he go to the 7th? Like how can he be healthy to where he can go in the 8th inning and not have to have season-ending surgery? And how can he use the pitch count and get ahead of hitters while not throwing over 110, 120 pitches, And he was rolling. 1 walk. And with what he's going to have to struggle with, what he's going to be dealing with for most of his career is that, like, with his fastball and some of his breaking pitches are going to be left over the middle. But how many pitches can he limit that to? But against Chicago, but in this game, in this outing, I think he struck out just about every guy except for one, which I think it was this Miguel Amaya, who is a prospect for the Chicago Cubs organization. I mean, and the offense was rolling. So the offense had Skenes back. This just Pittsburgh is going to be an attraction for a lot of fans with this guy. He did get his first win out the way in an historic ballpark, so that's awesome that he was able to get his first win at Wrigley. But yeah, 11 Ks, one walk, and 6 innings. So it was good to see. And in this recap, struck out 11 in 6 no-hit innings. So it was awesome to see him pitch. I was able to see the highlights, just flat out dominant, like Randy Johnson type level dominant is what he has a potential to be. But it is game time. in the next episode. I had some other topics here, but can't really get into them today. But in in the next episode, I'll be able to make sure that I tackle these topics. No special segment today on this Wednesday, but we will get back to special segments in this next episode or whenever I can. So y'all have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.